Hey guys, UWG Nick here, and welcome back to another Sunday Snippet. As you might have noticed, last Sunday there was no vlog or no Sunday Snippet, and that was simply because of the reason that I did not have time to do it. Those of you who follow the channel will know that I spent last week, or this week actually, the working week, in Russia. We went around visiting a few paper mills, checking up on old customers and new customers and seeing if there's any projects going on and such and so forth. As with most work trips, you don't have a lot of free time. It's very much focused on getting shit done and then you go home. So I don't really have too many crazy stories to tell you from Russia, but we did get a chance in the evening to go like to restaurants and things like that. And for the first time I got to see St. Petersburg. Oh, there was another first as well. This time when I went to Russia, I went to area called Karyala, or Karelen, depending on what language you use. And it's a area where I went actually has never been Finland, but very close to it. The Finnish border has gone very close to it. But during the Second World War, the Winter War and so on, Finland lost some land to Russia. I believe Russia's intention was to take all of Finland, but we managed to dissuade them of that notion. But we still lost a sizable chunk of the country, and the borders moved in. So I went to a place called Karelen, to a city called Petroskoy, or Petrozavodsk. Again, I don't know why they have two different names. I think Petroskoy is the old name, and Petrozavodsk is what is known as generally in Russia now. But people in Petroskoy call it Petroskoy. Don't fucking ask me, it's very confusing. Anyways, I went by bus this time. So I left on Monday morning from Turku. I jumped on a train and went over to Joensuu, which is another city a little bit more to the east in Finland. And from there I grabbed a bus, and that was not a good idea. It was cheap as shit. Like, I think I made it from Turku to Petroskoy on like 40 bucks. It took like 17 hours or something in total, maybe 16 hours in total, and the bus ride was like a 9-hour bus ride, and it was not very comfortable. The bus was, well, you know what a bus looks like. Now imagine that you still shave off like a few good inches of leg space, and the seats lean back in a way that if the person in front of you leans back, you cannot fit. I could not fit, at least. So it was not a pleasant experience, and I doubt I will be taking that bus again, no matter how cheap it was, because when you travel for work, the workplace usually pays for your travel time, and even though the travel is cheap that way, it also takes an awful lot of time, and the workplace is still paying you money for that day, as you know, you got your pay. So basically you're on the clock, and they have to pay you for that full day. So even if a ticket by plane or similar, but you can't fly to this place, by the way, even if you took like a taxi or something like that, that could cut the time a little bit, it might actually turn out to be not that much more expensive, because the time you save is also work time. You know what I mean. So either way, it was not a fun trip. I survived, but it wasn't great. Probably won't do that again. And we arrived in Petroskoy and spent a night there, went to see customers, and started moving around. But the other first that I mentioned, I don't think I ever got into it, I just ramble, is that I got to see St. Petersburg for the first time. And it was nice. If Moscow is the capital of Russia, as far as I know. And it's also the economic capital of Russia. So business-wise, industry-wise, decisions-wise, Moscow is like the head honcho. But as a, what do you call it? In regard to that, St. Petersburg is the cultural capital of Russia. So St. Petersburg has the most theaters and live music shows and things like that. There's a lot of cultural things going on, and I think you could feel it. Like, I remember when we were in Moscow, it was a very big city, but it didn't feel, it had a different feel than St. Petersburg. I'll definitely say that. There in St. Petersburg, it felt more like a place open to tourism, so to speak. There was a lot of restaurants, there was a lot of everything. It's pretty easy to get around with the metro, things like that. You just need to kind of keep track of directions, like north, south, west, and east. If you could keep that track of that when you came out of the metro, you were pretty good to know where you were going. But one thing that I decided to do in this video, for some reason, I don't know why, I don't usually do this, but I picked up 2 bottles of vodka in Russia, and I'm gonna try them on camera and let you know what I think about them. Now, vodka is very cheap in Russia, at least compared to Finland. This first one, let's start with in the other end. This first one that I got is, it was super cheap. I think this was like less than $5 if you're talking American money, and like around 3 or 4 euros in if you're talking European money. And well, not all of Europe, but euros. And I'd say that I bought them since I can't read Russian, like Cyrillic letters don't make any sense to me. I would read this as Nepenenka, but it's definitely not that. Letters don't make any sense in Russian to me, at least. I bought it pretty much just looking at the bottle. I was like, that's kind of cool. It looks like a lark egg or something similar. I don't really know what bird's egg that is, but it looks very distinct. I know I've seen it before, so I know it's a small egg and it's a small bird, so I think it's a lark. I'm not sure. Those of you who are sharp of eye might notice that, hey, slow down a bit. That bottle has been opened before. Yes, it has. I tried mixing a drink with it yesterday. Same with the other one, just to see kind of how they work in a drink. But I haven't tried them raw yet, so let's do that. Now, it's Sunday morning here. So I'm not gonna do full shots of vodka because I don't feel like it's that great to kind of like down a shot of vodka on a Sunday morning. It might lend more credibility to the whole like you might have an issue, but no, I don't have an issue. It's I just in my videos I often drink because I often play on Friday and Saturday evenings, and I do enjoy a drink then. But anyways, so this one. It's been in the freezer, so it's cold, very cold, and it smells cheapish. There's that, I don't know how to explain it, like that moonshine kind of scent to it. Like cheap vodka always has this like really horrendous aftertaste. Koskenkorva, Finnish Koskenkorva is one good example. It's awful, not because of the primary taste, but the aftertaste. Let's have a sip. Yeah, the aftertaste is horrible. The primary taste, the first thing that I experienced, I think, was a little bit minty, which is strange because it's not spiced. But, yeah, I don't know. Definitely like a minty pre-taste, and then it hits like a wave, that terrible aftertaste that I dislike in cheap booze. I think that if you mix this with a drink, which I did yesterday, that minty flavor, that first feeling will completely go away, and you'll only be left with that burnt aftertaste in your drink, which is usually what happens when you use cheap booze. Efficiency, let's see how strong is this anyways. It's a 40%. I think in America that would be 80 proof. So it's nothing to fuck around with, but so what is the other one? That's also 40%. But yeah, I mean, for the price, yeah, if you just want to get drunk, but it's not a great experience. I will say it's not very sharp. Everything kind of just rolls over the tongue. It's not like a punch in the nuts. It's more like a gentle nudge that turns into this like, yeah, fuck off, that kind of thing. If that makes any sense. Definitely a taste of acetone in it. Or maybe it's acetone that has a taste of alcohol. But yeah, the more I taste of it, the more of that acetone feel I get. Not great. Let's look at the other one. This one is premium. So this one cost maybe 10 euros. So that would be like what, $12, $13, something like that for half a liter. And I really like the bottle. There's a little like landscape in there, like a window. And you guys figure out how to read that, because I have no idea. To be fair, it's also mirror imaged right now on my screen. I don't know, probably not in the video, or maybe it will be mirror imaged in the video, in which case this will be even more confusing for you. But yeah, this is a 40%. It says somewhere, oh yeah, it says right there, if you can read it. It keeps freezing over because it's cold. Premium vodka. I think you can read it, I'm not sure. Let's have a try of this as well. I have a new fresh glass here, so it won't get tainted with the other one. Again, I'm gonna have just a little bit. Just a little bit in the glass. It's quite thick. As I said, it's been in the freezer, so that changes the viscosity of the fluid a little bit, but quite thick. Thick. Oh yeah, this is much less of that acetone cheap vodka smell. Yeah, can almost not even sense that moonshine scent. Okay, this seems more promising. I haven't tried it raw, this one either. By the way, the shot glass has this logo thing on it. That's the tech logo. It's like an engineering society kind of thing in Finland. I have a few of these glasses. They're big on messing around with students while you study, and then while you work, you can kind of have like a work insurance thing through them. So you pay them every month, and then if you lose your job, they will help you with unemployment benefits and try to get you a new job and things like that. It's quite handy, but it's also quite expensive. So I'm not a part of it anymore. Still sporting the logo though. Okay, let's have a taste. This was a lot softer in many ways. Just as in the smell, there's like a hint of that cheap booze taste, but it's not very strong at all. This would probably be quite pleasant to have as a shot with dinner. In Finnish culture, there's certain dinners you always have what's called snaps. Well, actually, I think it's Swedish culture, maybe more. Finno-Swedish culture to have snaps. I bet Finns do it too, though. We're gonna get into this a little bit, but let's talk about this one first. So, a lot softer, I think, in general. Went a bit deep in my throat, that one. Yeah, this is definitely a lot softer. There's a huge difference in them. Also, big difference in price. This was over 4 times as much as this one. Well, not 4. About 3 times as much, I'd say. And there's a definite difference in taste and flavor. I think my favorite vodka still, like just general consumption vodka, would be Ruski Standard or Russian Standard. And they have like the normal one. I think they have silver, gold, and platinum. And the platinum one is really excellent. It's very soft. It's excellent in drinks as well, because it doesn't really change the flavor of the drink. It just gives you an alcohol boost to the drink, but it doesn't change the flavor of what you're mixing in. The mixer is still the dominant factor when you mix with Russian Standard. And their baseline of vodka is probably my favorite, just like average. Average vodka. Wow, sneezy. Sneezy McGreasy. Okay, what can I say about this? It starts out very soft with a very undefinable taste. Like where that other one, the cheaper one, had like a minty taste. This one is just like unspecified, very soft flavor. And then it kind of rolls over into this like alcoholic vodka taste. And then like a slight lingering at the end of that moonshine, acetone kind of feeling. But very slight. I need to point that out, that It's not like I'm chugging from an acetone bottle in this one. This one was pretty close to that, but this one is a lot better. So yeah, I'm gonna finish that one off and we'll move on to the next thing. While I was in Russia, I decided to update my computer a little bit, so I ordered a new hard drive. Now, this didn't happen in Russia. I ordered it before I left for Russia, and then while I was in Russia, it arrived, so it was... I hate waiting on things. Like, I can spend months looking online for, like, a certain product that I want to buy, and I read reviews and compare and blah, 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 and I just, like, very meticulously make my choice, so to speak. I do a lot of studying before I buy things. But the moment I click that buy button, I want it to be here now. Like, there's no patience left for the whole sending and receiving part. It needs to be like, I can spend ages on just getting familiar with things, and then when I choose, I want it to be here. So, in a way to trick myself, I usually, before I go on longer trips when I'm going to be away, I place my orders, and then when I come home, they're already there, and it's like, oh, immediate. Anyways, what I bought was a Crucial MX500 2.5-inch SSD, 1 terabyte. The price for SSDs have gone down a lot over the last few years. I remember when I built this computer like 2 years ago, I think it was about 50 cents to the gigabyte for SSDs, which means a terabyte would have been around 500 and 600 euros, I'd say. This 1 terabyte one now, I think I paid about like 260 euros or something like that for it. And I have to say, like, again here, even though this was a bit of a impulse buy, I still checked up online. Like, I didn't know about Crucial, never heard that brand before, so I was worried that, you know, is this some cheap ass BS that just isn't good? Is it gonna break in my hand or something? But I checked online, and apparently they're getting really good reviews, and people are saying that this is probably most like best value for money, this brand at the moment. And they were also saying that the MX500 is very, very good. So I decided to buy it, and I have to say, so far, I mean, it's a hard drive. So far, it's not disappointed. At least I moved my entire Steam library over to this hard drive, filled it up almost immediately, and load times severely diminished. Like, for instance, I mentioned this actually in the Subnautica video. It's gonna come out in a couple of weeks probably, but I made a Subnautica video and I mentioned that before it used to take about 1.5 minutes to load into the game when you started it, and now we're down to like 20-25 seconds, somewhere in between there, which is a marked improvement, which I guess isn't surprising. I mean, it's SSD compared to an old spinner, but still, I'm happy. I'm not disappointed at all. This seems to be a very good buy, and I'm pleased to have placed my games onto a SSD. The only problem is in Final Fantasy 15, you don't have time to read the information that is written in the load screens. It just goes like meh, meh. Yeah, what else? Do I have anything else? Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to mention. I hesitated earlier in the video about the schnapps, the vodka shot with dinner, and what culture it belongs to. For those of you who aren't aware, I'm from Finland. I was born and raised in Finland. I've lived my whole life in Finland. Yet I am not, and I am Finnish, but I belong to a subculture of Finnishness, or Finland, which is a Finno-Swede. This means my mother tongue is Swedish. It's an official language, Finno-Swedish actually. It has its own grammar and its own rules. We take a lot of words from Finnish, or Finnify Swedish words, let's put it that way. Or Swedify Finnish words. Maybe it's that's a better explanation. We Swedify Finnish words. And there is a difference between Finno-Swedish culture and pure Finnish culture. Now, pure Finnish culture as well is very dependent on what part of Finland you come from. Like, along the eastern border, there's a lot more heavier influence from Russia. The Orthodox Church is a lot bigger there. When you go all over to the west, you get more influences from Sweden, because this is just how countries work with the borders and whatnot. And in southern Finland, they have their own thing. So I'm a Finno-Swede, which means and actually, this might come as a surprise for you, I don't speak Finnish perfectly. Shock and awe. I grew up along the western coast of Finland. Kind of like along the waist of Finland. If you look at Finland, we always say that it's a lady. Like, she has one hand out and she... that hand is gonna get me in trouble. I've seen what happens to people who lift their arm like that. PewDiePie got crucified. Anyways, so she has her arm out. I'm gonna do this. She has her arm out like somewhere here, and then she has a waist, and then she has a skirt, or whatever you want to call it. And that is how people consider the geographical shape of Finland. So I grew up on the western coast along the waist, kinda, like maybe high thigh of Finland. And that area for a few hundred kilometers, maybe 300 or 400 kilometers-ish, along the coast there, and maybe 100, 150 deep or something like that, is a very Swedish area of Finland. It's called in Finnish Pohjanmaa, or in Swedish Österbotten, or if you are from there, you call it Pampas. And this is a very Swedish area, so pretty much my entire youth I only used Swedish. I had to study Finnish in school. You had to at that point. Also at that time, Finnish people had to study Swedish in school, which I think was a good idea, but at the same time it doesn't really make much sense for people along the eastern border to study Finnish. And now they got rid of like this mandatory Swedish studying thing, which I still think is a bad idea, simply because Swedish, Norwegian, Danish, German, and many of the other Latin languages like have a very similar structure. Like German has words in different places and things like that, but learning Swedish will definitely help you, at least with Norwegian and a bit with Danish. Like, if you know Swedish, you can almost understand and communicate with Norwegian straight up. Danish are a little bit more difficult. They talk like really back in the throat, which is actually quite difficult to learn to pronounce correctly for a foreigner. And Germans and so on. But the grammar and the ideas behind the language, they have like the same family tree. Finnish doesn't belong to that family tree at all. Finnish comes from the Ugric languages, and actually if you look at a map of how languages have moved over the course of the centuries, Finnish becomes like this gray area where nobody really knows where the fuck it came from. Well, actually there's studies that have been done, like it's a mixture of this and that, and then it kind of, but still kind of a mystery. And Finnish language is considered like a freezer for many languages, because they have taken loan words like 700 years ago. They have gotten loan words that have been kept intact in the Finnish language, whereas the language where it came from does no longer use that language or that word and things like that. There's a lot of cool studies on this. You should just YouTube like, where did Finnish come from, or Finnish linguistic history or something like that. It's actually interesting, even though it sounds boring as sin. It's actually interesting to listen to and learn about. Swedish, of course, came into Finland because of Finland being a part of Sweden for a long time. Finland didn't exist as a country at that time. It was just this area where a lot of people spoke a weird language, and Sweden was like, yeah, we want that, we'll give us that. So we were part of their empire for a long time. Then Russia took us, and then after a while we were like, with Russians, we're like, we're kind of different, can we be our own country? And I think it was a certain tsar from Russia, who was like, you know, you guys are pretty cool, I'm gonna give you autonomy. So we were like a self-regulating area of the Russian Empire. I don't know if empire is the right word there, don't quote me on that. But of the Tsardom. And then at some point along the Second World War, Finland was like, you know what, we're just going to declare independence. And that's cool. Or was it the First World War? Probably, I don't fucking know. I'm bad at history, I should probably study it more. Anyways, Finland declared independence, and Russia was like, okay. But then in the Second World War, the Winter War, they were like, no, we want you to belong to Russia, which is when we lost Karjala and things like that. But overall, massive victory for Finland in that sense, and we became independent. And we actually became independent in 1917. I think it was the 6th of December. I only really know that it was the 6th of December because that's my name day, and it's always like, people have always celebrated my name day. When I was a kid, I was like, yeah, it's the same. It's like people are lighting candles for me. Not that I actually believed that they were lighting candles for me. Even as a very small child, I understood that, okay, it's because of this. But I still liked to kind of link them together for some reason. I don't know. Anyways, then Finland became independent. And that pretty much, when Russia took Sweden way back, the Swedish government or ruling class were kicked out. But a lot of people who were not a lot of people stayed behind, let's put it that way. A lot of people stayed behind in Finland even though Russia took over. I don't think it was terribly violent at that time, like they weren't killing every Swede just because they were Swedish. It was more like, well, Sweden has no power anymore, so a lot of people were like, okay, well, we'll go back to Sweden. But a lot of people were like, well, we have all our shit here, so we're just gonna stay. So there was a large portion of Swedish people, the Swedish people who were the ruling class, stayed behind. No longer in power, but with a lot of money. And here's the thing, since Sweden was the owners of Finland for a long time, that means Swedes who were here usually had good backing from back home, which means they had money. And people who have money tend to make more money, and people who are in power tend to get more power. So for a long time, if you were Swedish speaking, it was very true that you probably were either rich or powerful. Now when Russia took over, this diminished, but as I said, people had a lot of assets here, and those who stayed, they didn't lose their money. So for a long time, and still today, you feel that there's a certain type of maybe not so highly educated person who very much dislike Finno-Swedes. Because they have this ingrained belief that Swedish-speaking Finns are all rich, and we are, we feel that we somehow are above Finnish people. There is in southern Finland still very old Swedish names, families who have very old Swedish names that are very rich and still are powerful. But if you go up to where I'm from, people are farmers and shit like that. It's like very small towns. There are old names, yes, but the money isn't there. The power isn't there. So I think it's very, it's a misconception from those in Finland who think that Finno-Swedes somehow consider themselves better, or in today's society even are in a better position in any way. That's my experience. That's my opinion. Personal experience. I don't know. Maybe you can find statistics to prove that Swedish people have an easier time or something. But then you can also argue that's because of the language, because we can speak Swedish and we understand Norwegian, and so on and so forth. There's many layers to this thing. Anyways, I am part of this culture. I don't even remember where I left off, but I grew up in a Swedish area. I spoke Swedish my entire youth, and it wasn't until I had to study Finnish in school, so I learned words and things like that. But Finnish is so different from Swedish that if you don't use it, you aren't really able to learn the language just from a book. With German and Norwegian and things like that, I could probably easily just learn from a book and go and use it, because the melody in the language is very similar. But Finnish is so different that even if you learn all the words and all the rules, you won't be really able to communicate with a Finn unless you work at it. This is probably true for every language, and people are like, you're an idiot. And maybe that's true, but it still feels like Finnish is different, because, for instance, my English is okay at the very least. I found German quite easy to pick up, and I haven't studied it for many years, but I still remember a lot of the language. I can listen to German and understand large portions of it. Japanese even was, to me, easier than Finnish. But when I was in the military, I was sent into officer school and went to an area that was completely Finnish. And I had, for the first time in my life, to use actually Finnish. And it was a very, very tough time for me. I was there for 3 months. I completed my education and my training and came back to a Swedish-speaking brigade and got to be a officer for the last 5 or 6 months. I was an officer in Swedish-speaking brigade. And those 3 months were important to me because it forced me to use Finnish. It forced me to use Finnish. And then when I went on after the military, I went and studied. It had kind of opened the gates for me. So in my 20s, I started making actual Finnish-speaking friends, and it was rough in the beginning. Like my linguistic skills in Finnish were, it demanded a lot of patience from my Finnish friends to like keep a conversation going, because I would be looking for words. Every other word was like that thing, and grammar errors terrible, and sometimes very difficult to understand me. But body language and a shared interest and so on really helped with that. And that is why I hesitated on the whole Finnish culture, Swedish culture, Finno-Swedish culture, because since I am part of Finno-Swedish culture and we have a lot of influence from Swedish culture as well, there is a big difference between Swedish and Finnish culture, and Finno-Swedish culture is somewhere in between, and there's a big difference between us and Finnish culture as well. I might not be aware of all the intricacies of the classic or normal Finnish culture, the average Finnish culture. As I said, again, locations and country varies or determines certain cultural traits and things like that. But there is an average, an overlay, and I might not be aware of all of them because most part of my life I have lived in a Finno-Swedish culture and maybe not gotten influenced so heavily by the Finnish culture. I still consider myself 100% a Finn. I would, if there was a war, I would fight and die for this country. In sports, always, of course, rooting for Finland. And many times, it's super important to us that we beat Sweden. Because we have, I don't know, it's like an effect of being a minority in your own country. You want to like really underline that I am Finnish, I'm not Swedish, I'm Finnish, so fuck Sweden, that kind of thing. But Sweden is a great neighbor, and all the countries around us are great. Russia is a bit scary at times, but it's a great country in the sense that it's very large, at least, but a bit scary. Putin is scary. He's a dangerous man. Yeah, that's all I wanted to add, really. I'm filming this actually while editing the video that you're watching, because I realized that I forgot to mention this, and I think it's a factor in getting to know me and understanding where I come from. If I say I might mispronounce, or if I ever speak Finnish in my videos, I might mispronounce or say something wrong, and it's not because I'm a complete idiot. It's because I don't have full control of the language. I now work in a Finnish workplace, and but I still dislike writing emails to Finnish customers, because when you write the language, everything is in black and white, and if you make an error, it stays there forever. Whereas in conversation, you go like, oh yeah, you know, and then we went over there. So you can kind of hide it and kind of roll over it, and people also, when the conversation flows, it's like they might catch something, but they're like, maybe just, you know, mumbled or something like that. But in text, it's very much like, why are you making that error? So I dislike writing Finnish emails and things like that. I'm much more comfortable in English and Swedish, and probably not German. My Finnish is stronger than my German, but if I'd rate my languages, it'd be Swedish, English, and then Finnish. Probably Japanese before German. Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, I just wanted to add that, so let's get back to, I'll add this into the video somewhere in the middle and switch over. I don't really think there's much else to tell you at this point in time. I'm very focused on just getting through Final Fantasy 15 and Subnautica and Path of Exile at the moment, so there won't probably be many new games popping up, unless I do like some one-offs or something like that. Always a possibility, but other than that, not much to tell you. I'm just chugging along. We have 2 new subscribers on the channel, so now we're back. We're up to 52. My last video, I think, was the 50 sub celebration, and we got 2 since then, which was 2 weeks ago. So with this, we're gonna hit, yeah, it's pretty much the pace we're going, and it's like 1 sub per week, pretty much. So in a year, we'll have 100. No, other than that, not much to tell you. So, I have a feeling that there was something I wanted to talk about, but I can't remember what it was. Maybe the vodka's affecting my brain. Anyways, we're gonna end the Sunday Snippet here. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, anything you want to see, or anything you want to ask me, feel free to drop comments. If there's like, if it needs a longer answer, if it's a short answer, I'll just go yes or no in the comment section on YouTube. But if it's something that needs like a little more explaining, a little bit more defining, and things like that, I will bring it up in a future Sunday Snippet. And yeah, let's get kind of a communication thing going here. It'd be fun. I want to hear more from my watchers, or my viewers, let's put it that way. Other than that, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy my channel, and keep watching. There's going to be a lot more material coming. Bye.